So I decided I was going to do a race. So I opened up the Zwift companion app. I scrolled through the events of the day. I scrolled all the way down to 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I was looking for a crit race, and I found the DBR Sprinthooligan Cup, and I thought that was going to be just perfect. This particular race is in the downtown Dolphin course here. It's starting at 2:05. The downtown Dolphin course is a 1.2 mile loop. This is a race also where you get points for passing banners before everyone else. So the winner of the race isn't necessarily the person who crosses the finish line first, because you can accumulate points throughout the race. As long as you stay competitive, you can still win. My FTP is about functional threshold power is about 285 watts, and based upon my 195-pound weight, that puts me in the upper end of category C. So I'll be racing in category C in this race. And so I signed up, and now it's time to race. Down here in the corral, getting ready to start. You'll have my watts in the upper left-hand corner with my cadence and my heart rate. And we'll see how that changes as the elevation of this course changes as well. So we count down to 0. I get the watts up. 350, going to pop up to 400 watts for about the first 30 seconds or so to make sure I can get out with the front group. Drafting is involved, so you want to make sure that the people who start off quick don't get too far ahead of you. The race officially time-wise starts there. There's a little bit of a lead-in before we get into the actual clock in the upper right-hand corner starting. So right now you see the group is sort of stretched out, but we're all sort of still connected, able to draft off each other. I'm in 24th place. If you look in the right-hand side, you'll see I just moved up to 22nd place overall. But just trying to keep an eye on the people in front of me, jumping back up to 400 watts, making sure that they don't get too far away. I want to make sure I stay close. Coming around the corner, there's a little bit of a gap, but I close it coming around the corner at 400 watts. Back down to around 300. I should be about 300 watts for the whole race, but there'll definitely be times where you're going to have to spike it just to get up to the group and make sure that you stay in contact with everyone. Just moved up to 17th place. People are still a little stretched out. There's a little bit of a gap between the rider in front of me and the rider in front of him, so we're going to try to close that. We're going to come around this corner. This is a nice flat section of the course, but here's the hill that we hit. We have to hit this hill, and this is going to be where our first banner is as well. I see it's 4% grade here. It levels out a little bit, and then it goes back up here to 6% grade. So this is where a lot of times people like to try to lose other people, have them fall off the back. And this is the first banner. And right there, you can see I'm all the way up into, I got the third place through the banner there, which is great because that'll get me some extra points. And these are the banners that are going to matter. We're going to come up with another one in a little bit. So now I'm moved up into 6th place. Got a couple of people sprinting out in front. We got a nice little pack here together. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, all those little blue dots are riders. Those are the dots. Those are the riders in front of me. Those are the riders behind me. Obviously, you can see the riders right next to me. Some nice little rolling hill section here where me as a heavier rider is to my advantage. So I am able to put on a little extra speed, move all the way up into 4th place. And, at this point, I've got some nice momentum, and it carries me all the way to the front. So now I'm in 1st place coming around the corner, and there's the second banner. But this banner this time around isn't going to count because we haven't done quite a full loop yet. So the next time through this banner, the first person through and the first few people through will get points for the race. So coming around here, I'm trying to keep it competitive and move forward, but at the same time, I don't want to spend too much time out in front. I want to be able to take advantage of the drafting of the people that are around. It's sort of tricky in these races because you want to make sure that you're pushing the pace and you're trying to make the people behind work hard enough so that they fall off the back, but at the same time, you don't want to spend too much time out in front where everyone's just getting a rest behind you while you're pulling the whole group. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. But, you can see here that, the group is the front group is still pretty much still together. It's hard to tell how many riders there are behind me, but, it looks like there's about four of us right now, 4 or 5 of us that are really starting to, get a little bit of a distance from the group behind us. And that's going to probably continue for just a little bit. We're in a nice little flat section here. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see where that number is. It says 2 and it goes up to 3, 4. That's the percent grade that we're on. 5% grade up this hill. As we come around again, it sort of flattens out just briefly before it pops back up to 6%. You can see where the watts are really spiking right here, because this is, again, where people try to lose people behind them. So we've got 2 guys out in front who are really trying to take off and take advantage of the hill. They're probably lighter riders. But the rest of us here, we kind of keep our cool. We keep it together. We got another 3 or 4 riders, another 2 riders that I'm with. You can see right here. I think there's another one right behind us. And we stick together, and you think that they're going to get those other 2 riders away from us. But it doesn't take us long, with, just keeping right around that 300 watts to work together and, just reel them right back in, particularly in this section right here. Again, this is, the rolling hill section where I get, some really good momentum going. And you can see here I've dropped down to 5th place, but that banner's coming up there, and I want to make sure I can kind of get up there and try to get some more points. So I'm cranking out a little extra watts right here just to try to see if I can get out in front of everybody. Because, it's pretty important to get those points, particularly, at the end of the race. If you're not so much a sprinter and you can't, get that last quarter mile or so in to pass people, you want to make sure you can get as many points as possible. So here I'm in 2nd place going through the banner, which is excellent. That means I get some points on that lap. And we're staying competitive. So coming around here, bringing the watts back down, trying to get a little bit of the advantage of drafting off some of the other riders, bringing down 250, 270. This is a nice little flat section. You can see just a 1% grade right here. So watts goes up just a little bit because you can feel it in the trainer. That smart trainer is like really, sensitive to the elevation changes. So that's where having an advantage of having a smart trainer is, because I don't even have to switch gears to get those watts up. It'll automatically increase that resistance. I am switching gears throughout the race, but when you get a little bit of an elevation, you don't have to, manually adjust to try to get those watts up. You can just feel it, and you just put the extra strength right in and cruise right through. So here we are, about 12 minutes ahead from where we were before. Going up the hill, there's about 5 of us now in the lead group. You can see I'm currently in 3rd place coming up the hill. This is a little section of the race where a couple of guys decide to make a move. And I'm thinking to myself, rather incorrectly, that this is no big deal. I can probably stick with this. This is going to be something that, the rest of us will group back together and reel them back in. As we come around this little section here, some of the other riders are putting out over 4 watts per kilogram, where I'm only at 3.3. I'm thinking they're not going to keep that up for very long, but it turns out that they actually do. And as we come through this little rolling section where I'm thinking to myself I'm going to catch them, it turns out that they're getting a little farther away from me. There's other rider right behind me, Sperati. He's, drafting off of me, and I think he's hoping that I'm going to catch them and that he'll just ride my tails, all the way till I do. And we come around this corner, and I am just not able to close that gap. I got my watts up over 300, thinking to myself, just keep it up there. If I can stay above 300, I'll start to slowly catch them. They're not flying away from me. I can still see them, but I'm not closing that gap. And this is something that sort of continues for a little bit here in this race. Okay, jumping ahead a couple of minutes now. We've got one more lap to go. Just about 1.1 miles at the 12-mile race. And I've still got Sperati with me. The 2 of us are trying to make headway and catch the group in front. So in a lap that's going to probably take just over 2 minutes, that's going to be very difficult to close that 12-second gap. Unfortunately, what I'm not really paying any attention to in this race are the people behind me. And you can see that they know it's the last lap, just like we know it's the last lap. And although I've got the watts up a little bit more than I would normally, for a regular lap, and you can see them, in the 350, 340, 375, that group behind us is actually, moving faster than we are. And I have to say, during the race, I paid no attention to that whatsoever. And as I come around here, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe me and Sperati are just going to battle it out for fourth place, and that's all it's going to be, and that's fine. But as you can see, that group, though, that it's a good-sized group. They just keep gaining. They just keep gaining. And we keep going back and forth. And, I'm looking ahead. And you can just see they're catching us. And here we hit the hill. And, all of a sudden, I'm looking at Sperati, I'm looking up, and all of a sudden these riders just come past me, and I'm losing position 6. Now down to 8th, and I'm like, what's happening? So I crank up the watts. I'm like, I got to stay with these guys. There's only, a half a mile to go. So, it's like, now or never. There's no reason to hold anything back into the tank. So I'm in 7th place now, and I start to really kind of crank it up to try to catch these guys. They're not that far ahead of me. I know I've got the that rolling hill section into which I have a little bit of an advantage versus my disadvantage of going up that other hill. That's just part of being heavier again. I just I do much better downhill than the light guys, and they do much better uphill than I do. But coming around the last time we hit the rolling hill section, it seems like they've got a little bit of a gap. I'm still trying to put out whatever energy I've got left. I'm not much of a sprinter, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best through these hills. The trainers, going from the heavy resistance, the light resistance, going up and down those little rolling hills is difficult. I think at this point, you know what, I'm not really going to catch much of anyone, but let's just do what we can here. Getting over 400 watts. I got a chance for that one guy. Am I going to get him? I'm trying. And then boom. So here are the final results. Overall, it says I'm 56, but that includes people from different categories, not just the C category. And we'll review the final results in just a minute. Okay, so here's my profile on Zwift Power, which you can get to just from the Internet Explorer. And here's the final race results. And for the DBR Sprinthooligan Cup, this is the unfiltered results. So you can go down to the bottom, C category. You see I came in 7th place overall. But there are people who are going to be filtered out of here. See, the person in 1st place didn't have a heart rate monitor. The person in 5th place was using Z Power, which means they didn't have a power meter or a smart trainer. So now we're going to go into the filtered results, and you can see, hey, look, I won. And part of the reason I won wasn't because I was the fastest overall. You can see the person who came in 3rd and 4th actually had a faster time than me. But if you look the next 2 columns over to the primes, I got the most amount of prime points, 99 points, because once the people in front of me were disqualified, I ended up getting a lot of those banners before anyone else did, particularly the loop banner versus the one at the top of the hill. But even the one at the top of the hill, I ended up getting a lot of 2nd and 3rds. You can see here I got from loops 3 through 8 of the 10 loop course, I got 1st place through the banner. I also got 2 2nd places and a 3rd. So I did pretty well as far as the prime points go, and that's what got me into 1st place. So that was my race. It was a lot of fun. It was the first race I actually got 1st place in, so I'm very excited about that. It was also a lot of hard work. But if anybody has any questions, please let me know, and I would be happy to help out. I hope everyone's training well. Thanks.